here I am at the bottom of Death Valley in Badwater Basin. It's about 282 feet below sea level, the lowest point in North America, and one of the harshest places for anything to try and live and grow here. There's certainly no plants growing on top of the soil here because it's barely even soil. This is like a pure layer of salt overlaying some mud, and it's actually fairly thick salt. Like, it seems like it's a few inches. So yeah, I don't think there's very many plants that can grow through salt. I mean, I know there isn't. There's a few that do actually, but they aren't found here. So nothing grows here, but I don't think there's even that many bacteria in the top of the salt. I mean, there's probably a little bit, but their living season's probably really short. And as a result, this is pretty barren. It gets about 2 inches of rainfall a year, although this valley is supplemented by all the runoff from storms and snowmelt. You can see that is Telescope Peak and the Panamint Ranges. That definitely contributes some moisture to here, but all it does is contribute even more dissolved salts and fine clays, making this ever harsher environment each year. There are places like this. It's kind of similar to the salt flats around the Great Salt Lake, but those are actually way less harsh just because it's not quite as hot there and it gets more precipitation. So more frequently it's covered in water. Now, back in the last ice age, this would have been covered in water. There would have been a permanent lake here called Lake Manly. It wouldn't have been very hospitable, but it would be better than we have now. And as the ice age ended, it got too warm and it all evaporated. The evaporation potential out here is probably about I think it's about 150 inches a year. So even though it only gets 2 inches of rainfall, even if someone was to pump, say, 12 feet of water into this valley, it would all evaporate in 1 year. It's an insane amount of evaporation that can happen. So plants really have to try and hold on to what they got. They want to survive here. And there are a few that do, but not directly on the salt flat. Occasionally Lake Manly reforms. Just enough rainfall falls in a day to bury it again, typically in the spring or autumn, but it doesn't last very long. It takes a lot of precipitation to actually soak the soil first so it can start, accumulating above the actual soil or salt level. Yeah, not an easy place to live, but it's very cool. You can see the sea level sign from here, probably not. If I can find it, I'll try and pause and point it out, but yeah, like I said, we're almost 300 feet below sea level here. Cool place. Feeding this valley, in addition to the just small streams and bajadas that run off from the mountains, there's Amargosa River, which I think approaches from the south, and the Salt Creek, which comes from the north. I'm not even sure Salt Creek's like a real river, though. I think it might just be sort of groundwater fed. But all that, and especially these bajadas, can wash directly onto the valley sometimes. You can get a little bit of moisture, but it disappears quickly, as I said. These salt formations are constantly being reformed, by the way, just by various processes of erosion, wind, drying, expansion of their growth, and being redissolved by water. So it's never quite the same when you come here, but it kind of just looks more like more of this if I keep going out there. I'd like to do that sometime, but I'm really short on time today. So I'm definitely going to revisit here in the future, but for now I gotta go. And this is Badwater Pool, a system of groundwater fed ponds that line the margin of this area where the playa sort of meets the mountains back there. And it's an interesting place because it's probably the lowest permanent year-round water in North America, and it's found right here in the driest, hottest place in North America. But it is quite salty. That's how it got its name. The water is not potable, but it does support an endemic species of snail, the Badwater Snail. I can't remember its scientific name. It's something like Angustassiminea, something or other. I'll put it up. But it's kind of incredible that there can be a snail found only in such a harsh environment. I would like to go and try and find them, but I can't because I have to remain on this boardwalk. It's just the national park rules, and it makes a lot of sense because everyone is doing it. I don't think there'll be any snails left by this point in time. Lining it is the shrub. There's only one species, and it is, of course, Allenrolfea occidentalis. I say, of course, but this time I kind of mean it because it is indeed the hardiest plant in North America, as I said. At least in some contexts, certainly in the context of growing in basically salt water. Of course, it needs more water than some other plants around here, but it can handle very well the dry, salty conditions, and it can handle dry as long as it has enough water. And it can basically just drink ocean water and be happy. So it grows out here. Yeah.